And it's been nearly a week since St. Augustine Mayor Nancy Shaver suffered a stroke at City Hall. Shaver resigned in the days since then, so the question now is what is next for the nation's oldest city? First Coast News' Shelby Danielson spoke with the city manager to find out.
This is our nuisance flooding condition, what it will look like.
As the mayor of St. Augustine for nearly 5 years, Nancy Shaver leaves big shoes to fill as she now turns her attention to her recovery. City manager John Reagan says in her wake, they've received upwards of 15 to 20 people interested in vying for the job.
There's been a number of names that have been circulated, and there are a number of people who have called in expressing a desire.
Since Thursday, they've been on the clock. If they don't choose someone within 10 days, Governor DeSantis will fill the vacancy.
It could be tomorrow, or it may take a second meeting.
Reagan says it must be a majority vote, which means 3 commissioners would be in agreement. The replacement would serve out the rest of Shaver's time in office, which lasts until December 7th of 2020.
Most likely that the commission will pick somebody from outside the commission.
According to city charter, the vice mayor or any other commissioner may only fill in for the mayor during temporary absences, not in this case like a resignation, which has never happened before in the position of mayor.
The most important role is to be in charge of the city commission meeting.
The applicant must live within city limits and be of voting age.
The nation's oldest city is one of the best cities in the world.
Cities have to make decisions, and they have to make the smartest decisions for the people who live here.
Reagan says Shaver will not be involved in this process. She's 100% focused on her health at this time. In St. Augustine, Shelby Danielson, First Coast News, on your side.